Here at the very bottom of Africa lies one of the most dangerous stretches of ocean on Earth. For centuries, sailors have feared this place. They call it the graveyard of ships. Legends say ghost vessels still wander its waters, cursed to sail forever. The most famous of them is the Flying Dutchman, a ghost ship that is cursed to sail forever and never reach a port. But this isn't just a myth. Beneath the ocean's surface, thousands of shipwrecks lie buried, silently proving how dangerous the sea can be. This is the Cape of Good Hope. To the naked eye, it looks like a dramatic meeting point between land and ocean, but to sailors, it represents the difference between life and death. Even in today's age of GPS and mega container ships, many still avoid passing under Africa unless they have no choice. But why is that? That's exactly what we are going to uncover today in this video. The Cape of Good Hope was not always seen as hopeful. For the first explorers who reached it, it was a place of fear. After hearing countless tales of a dangerous southern tip of Africa, European sailors in the 15th century finally dared to test it. In 1488, a Portuguese sailor named Bartolomeu Dias tried to sail further south than anyone before him. What he found was terrifying. Strong winds blew his ships off course, giant waves slammed against the wooden decks, and sharp rocks threatened to break the hulls apart. He somehow made it through alive and became the first European to round the tip of Africa, but he named it the Cape of Storms because of the deadly weather he faced. The name fit perfectly because this stretch of ocean seemed cursed. Back in Portugal, however, his king saw things differently. Instead of doom, he saw opportunity. The Cape was renamed the Cape of Good Hope because rounding it opened the possibility of a direct sea route to India, the land of spices and wealth. From then on, the Cape became the gateway to an empire. The Portuguese, followed by the Dutch and then the British, sailed these waters relentlessly. Their ships carried not only spices and silk, but also gold, slaves, and ivory. Each voyage made fortunes, yet each came with the constant risk of death. The Cape claimed so many ships that sailors began to whisper about supernatural forces at play. It was here that the legend of the Flying Dutchman was born. The story says that in the 1600s, a Dutch captain swore he would round the Cape, even if it took him until the end of times. He failed and was cursed to sail forever. Sailors began to report sightings of his phantom ship glowing in the mist, forever trapped in these waters. Because of these dangers, sailors desperately searched for alternatives. In the 19th century, a miracle of engineering changed everything. The Suez Canal was opened in 1869, and it carved a passage through Egypt, linking the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. For global trade, this was revolutionary. Ships no longer had to sail thousands of kilometers around Africa. The Suez route saved around 7,000 kilometers of travel between Europe and Asia. It also avoided the Cape's deadly storms. Today, almost 12% of global trade passes through the Suez Canal. Oil from the Middle East, goods from Asia, and even grain from Europe move through this one narrow corridor. When the Ever Given, a giant container ship, blocked the canal in 2021, the world got a shocking reminder of just how critical it is, because billions of dollars in trade were lost in just a few days. But what happens when the Suez Canal is blocked, either due to politics, war, or accidents? Ships are forced back to the Cape of Good Hope, and once again, they must face the perils of Africa's southern seas. And this is exactly what is happening these days after the attacks of Yemeni Houthis on container ships in the Red Sea. But why is this stretch of water so deadly? The answer lies in geography. The Cape of Good Hope is where the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean meet. Because these two huge oceans come together, they create strong and unpredictable ocean currents. The water movement here is often rough and can change direction quickly, making sailing in this area very dangerous. Now imagine adding something called the Roaring Forties. These are powerful winds that constantly blow around the Earth near the 40° south latitude. These winds are so strong that they create massive waves, sometimes as tall as buildings. During winter, waves that are 10 to 15 meters high are very common. Ships in this region can be tossed around like toys, and dangerous storms can appear suddenly without any warning. Even today's modern ships, made of strong steel and equipped with advanced radar, still face serious danger here. But the threat doesn't come from just the waves. The coastline itself is very rough and rocky, with hardly any safe places to hide or dock. In the days when ships were powered by sails, navigating these waters was almost impossible. One wrong move meant the ship would crash and break apart. That's why the waters near Cape Town are filled with the wrecks of hundreds of ships that sank between the 1500s and 1800s. But the Cape is not the only danger on this route. Sailors must also pass through other deadly waters. On the west coast of Africa lies Namibia's Skeleton Coast. This place is named for a reason. Fog, shifting sands, and powerful currents have stranded ships for centuries. In World War II, the British British ship Dunedin Star wrecked here, leaving passengers stranded in the desert. Rescue efforts became legendary, but showed just how unforgiving this stretch of coastline can be. Then, as ships turned toward the east, they faced the Mozambique Channel between Madagascar and mainland Africa. This is cyclone country. Storms here form with terrifying speed, and winds can rip through ships like paper. For centuries, sailors dreaded these waters almost as much as the Cape itself. Even modern ships with weather radar respect this stretch of water because conditions change fast and safe harbours are far apart. And even if a captain beats the fog, the currents and the cyclones, a different danger waits further along the route, and that danger is of the pirates. In the early 2000s, the waters off Somalia became some of the most dangerous in the world. Pirates in small speedboats, armed with rifles and rocket launchers, hijacked massive tankers and demanded millions in ransom. At its peak in 2011, Somali piracy cost the global economy an estimated $7 billion, as ships hired armed guards, rerouted or slowed down under naval escort. International patrols and a strong and coordinated naval presence by NATO, the EU, the US, India, and others led to a dramatic reduction of piracy off the Somali coast, but the fear they created still shapes how routes are planned. Similarly, if you go further to the west, the Gulf of Guinea near Nigeria is now the world's most dangerous hotspot for piracy. Here the threat is not just robbery, but kidnapping. Sailors are often taken hostage, and companies must pay ransoms to get them back. In 2020, out of 135 kidnappings globally, 130 happened in the Gulf of Guinea, making it one of the most dangerous maritime zones in the world. In 2024 alone, 12 crew members were kidnapped, and 126 crew members were taken hostage. The ransoms for these kidnappings can also be very high. One Chinese fishing boat crew held for a month paid around $300,000 for release. This is why the route around Africa remains so difficult. First, there is the raw force of the ocean at the Cape, then the traps of the Skeleton Coast, and the storms of the Mozambique Channel. Even if a ship survives the weather, it must still pass through waters where pirates watch the lanes. Now, there is also a political side to this story. The waters around Africa are not just important for trade, they are also key military and strategic zones. For example, in the Red Sea, which is north of the Cape of Good Hope, Houthi rebels in Yemen have been attacking commercial ships. Since mid-November 2023, over 90 vessels have been targeted, with more than 30 ships damaged and at least 2 sunk. Because of these attacks, shipping traffic through the Suez Canal has taken a massive hit. In early 2024, Suez transit dropped by about 50% compared to the previous year. The ships have diverted their routes around Africa, opting for the longer path via the Cape of Good Hope. This has once again made the Cape very important for global shipping and trade. Big powers around the world understand how crucial this region is. That's why navies from the US, China, and Europe regularly patrol African waters. Near the Horn of Africa, the small country of Djibouti has become a hub for international military presence. It now hosts several foreign military bases, including China's first overseas base. The fight to control and protect these waters continues today, just like it did centuries ago, during the time of explorers like Bartolomeo Dias and Vasco da Gama. The route around Africa has always carried 2 faces. On the surface, it is a vital artery of world trade, moving oil, gas, and cargo across continents. But beneath that practical layer lies a darker truth. That is why, even with modern technology, most captains choose the safer Suez Canal. It may be crowded and expensive, but it avoids a path that mixes history, myth, and danger all in one. The Cape of Good Hope gave explorers the promise of wealth, yet to many who sailed it, it remained the Cape of Storms. And perhaps that is the real lesson. Progress can change the routes we take, but the ocean always keeps its secrets. If you like topics like these, do mention in the comment section below. We will come up with new videos soon. Until then, take care.